Hi, we're the Ohio guys on location at TechoCon in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Today we have Chris Patton with us. How you doing today, Chris?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, fantastic.
Sweet.
All right, we just had a few questions for you here today about a couple shows. What was it like working on Hamatora?
Loud pipes over there. Hamatora was really cool because I wrote the dub script for that show, and not long after I'd finished writing the dub script, I found out that I was going to be playing Moral. And I remember when I was writing it, I was like, God, I want to play this guy, because I'm getting to write all these like horrible villain lines that he has. Like, I would so love to voice him. And I was writing it when I was still in Maryland, and right when I finished it, I was moving back to Houston. And I found out right when I moved back, they're like, well, you're gonna play Moral, and I'm like, yes.
Awesome.
So it was great. It was a great experience.
What was it like working on Air Gear?
It was a lot of fun. Air Gear, well, actually, I say that. There was a lot of pressure at the beginning. I remember John Swayze, who directed it, he called me up and he's like, Chris, I'm about to direct this show and I'm not even going to audition you for the lead role. I'm just going to ask you to come in and do it, but I'm going to want you to sort of dig deep and maybe bring a new kind of energy that you've never brought to a role before. And I'm like, what is this all about? But I think he was just trying to like light a fire under my butt and like make sure I didn't just deliver a sort of cookie cutter kind of performance.
Yeah.
And I mean, it worked, and I had a great time working on it. And it ended up being a lot more. When you hear that like a show is about rollerblades, you're like, really? But it ended up being a lot of fun, and probably one of my top 10 favorite shows that I've worked on.
Very nice. Also, what was it like working on Narama Daikon Brothers?
It was amazing because all of us who worked on that, even the the tertiary characters, whatever, like Vic and whoever worked on the show, all of us have a musical or a musical theater background, and we were so excited at the chance to work on an anime where we got to sing. And besides that, the show was really wrong in a lot of ways and hilarious. So it was sort of like, in a way, it was sort of like Ghost Stories the musical, in a way, because I mean, not nearly as dirty as Ghost Stories gets now that I think about it, but it was a very sort of it was a sort of racy, silly, weird show where we got to sing tons of songs. So it was awesome.
Very nice. Speaking of the theater, what's it like working on a theater production?
Oh my God. It's insanely time consuming. A few months ago, I was lucky enough to, I directed the regional premiere in Houston of Green Day's American Idiot. And that was an amazing, energy-sucking experience that I would never trade for anything in the world. But and then being in a show, it's very demanding of your physical energy and your mental energy and your time. But theater is sort of like my home. It's sort of where I always end up gravitating back to. So it's rewarding, but it's lots of freaking work.
Oh, I can imagine it's a ton of work.
It is, and a lot of time. Big chunks of your time are taken away. Yeah.
Also, what was it like working on Tokyo Bubblegum Crisis?
Bubblegum Crisis 2020.
Yeah, there you go.
That was the first recurring role I ever had. And it was fun because, I mean, the character was named Daily Wong and he was a gay cop. So how can you hate that? I mean, it was fun. It was my first recurring role at ADV, and it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot on that show.
Oh, I imagine so.
Yeah.
What was it like working on Welcome to the NHK?
Really hard. It was really hard, and it was really draining, and it was harrowing because in that character, I was dealing with some issues I've dealt with myself in life, like panic attacks and agoraphobia and kind of neuroses that I dealt with through a large part of my life. And so it was tough tackling some of that in an acting setting and in a booth, like I had to actually voice having a panic attack, and it was a lot of work, but I still, to this day at this very convention, I've signed so much NHK stuff, and it's really resonated with people. So it was hard and a little frightening, but it was rewarding.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What was it like working on NOX Buko SS?
Weird. I mean, I happen to love that show. Any show where you play a submissive boy who turns into a fox. What else can you ask in your anime? What do you want? But I think the show is actually kind of adorable. I signed a bunch of that today. seems to be more popular with girls. I can understand that, but I thought it was. I mean, I thought it was funky, but I had a great time. That was one of the ones I worked on. Was the last show I worked on before I left for Maryland.
Oh.
Yeah, so it has sort of a special significance in my life because that was the first one I worked on before I left for Maryland, and the first show I worked on when I got back was Hamatora. Yeah.
Exciting stuff. Bring it back to like an old one. What was it like working on Princess Tutu?
That was another one where, like Full Metal Alchemist, we all knew the show was special, and even though it's not nearly as popular as Full Metal Alchemist is, it again today, I signed tons of Princess Tudu. Really? Princess Dudu. It's the new name of the show. One girl's two tutus. Sorry. Two girls, one tutu. Doo-doo. Anyway, where am I? I signed a bunch of Princess Tutu merchandise, and what I'm saying is 7-8 years later, it still has staying power. And I think sort of like Ghost Stories, it's grown in popularity. And if you can get past the title, which turns a lot of people off, if you sit down and really watch the show and pay attention to it, I think it's very rewarding. But we knew it was good while we were working on it. We had no idea that it was going to resonate with so many people for as long as it has.
It's actually a really interesting show.
I think it's a really, it's not like most anime. You know, and you think of it like what, a girls' ballet or a ballet academy, and you're like, are you kidding me? No, but it's super interesting, and the characters are very well written. Yeah.
Talking about something new, what was it like working on Black Bullet, one of your more recent releases?
That was sort of like the return of the Chris Patton action hero, and it was really exciting. Like at the last con I was at, someone was like, "Dude, when Black Bullet came out, I was like, Chris Patton's back." And I'm like, I never really left, but they're like, no, but I mean that Chris Patton, where you're like the action hero guy, and I'm like, yeah, that's true. So I think Chris Ayres for that, because I hadn't played a role like that in a hot minute, and it was really fun. I mean, it wasn't, no one will ever be Sosuke except for Sosuke, but playing Rintaro was a close second, I think. It was a lot of fun.
Very nice. Is there any way that fans can reach you? Facebook, Twitter?
Yeah, Facebook. I'm so sorry I don't actually know the address, but I do know that if you search on Facebook for Chris Patton, and then put in like Houston or actor, I'll pop up. And then my Twitter and Facebook are where I'm most active. So my Twitter is Chris D. Patton, and my Facebook is whatever it is. And I do have an Instagram that I'm fairly active on, and it's Chris F. Patton. The F is for frolic. What? Yeah, so those are my main social media platforms.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you.
I'm Jared. He's Chris. We'll see you next time.